Greetings, Montaiso here, and well, this time it's about the worst spy loadout, and well, this is what I came up with. It's the Enforcer, your Eternal Reward, and the Dead Ringer. And there's one thing I missed that I was planning to, but only noticed when I started going through the footage, and well, see if you can spot it before I get to it, okay? So our first weapon to look at here is the revolver in question. It is the Enforcer. Oh, how the mighty has fallen. It used to be really good. It's not really quite as good anymore. In its current incarnation, it has a 20% damage bonus while you are disguised. Now, if you are disguised and fire a shot, well, you're no longer disguised. So the damage bonus will only really appear for the first shot in any given fight. Still, it can be useful sometimes. And it's not a major upside, but it's still an upside, and you may get use of it sometimes, and it's a bit more reliable. Let's say the Ambassador can do a similar thing with, you do a headshot which will deal 102 damage, and then you follow up with weaker shots since it deals less damage overall. But considering what you started with, well. With the Enforcer, however, it's more useful if, well, your enemy has found out that you are a spy and still have your disguise, and you don't really have time to go for a headshot, so you can still get some extra damage in the first shot. So it's not really a terrible bonus, but it's not really that big either. So the second upside is it pierces resistances. Really interesting thing, and well, it does fit the spy. Of course, well, I think it's certainly an interesting upside. It does have one disadvantage with it. It's that, well, most of those resistances, you are not really going to want to shoot them anyway. If you're being healed by the vaccinator, yeah, you can ignore the bullet resistance. Still, the guy you're shooting at is still being healed by a medigun, and yeah. And when it comes to spun up brass beast heavy, yeah, shooting at spun up heavies is rarely a good idea, but there may be a situation where it actually does come up. Once again, it's an interesting upside, but and it could situationally prove useful, but most of the time it's a stat that doesn't really matter. When it comes to the downsides, well, it has no random crits. Yeah, not really a major thing. Random crits, it's never something you should really rely on, and it's not like it's a melee weapon that crits almost every time, so yeah, not really a major downside. But the other one, 20% slower firing speed, which is the same as the Ambassador, really. Not really something I really noticed that much myself. After all, with the revolvers, you don't really want to simply just spam shots. So if you take a little bit of time between the shots in order to get good accuracy, after all, after you're fired, it takes slightly longer than the time it actually takes before you can fire until the shot will be completely accurate again. So slower firing speed. Occasionally it may come up, but most of the time it really doesn't. So the downsides aren't really that big of a deal either. So all in all, the Enforcer, it's not really that bad. It's just that all the other revolvers, well, when it comes to general fighting, the stock is more useful if you want to deal massive damage on Headshots, well, the ambassador, it can do that. The l'étranger, however it's pronounced, you really need to be French to be able to pronounce that one. It increases cloak time, always useful, and Diamondback can store crits. So they all have use, and when it comes to the enforcer, what is it really good at? Not really that much, but it's not really that bad either, provided you actually hit your shots. That goes for most weapons. If you can actually hit, they tend to be at the worst decent, but yeah. It's just that the other revolvers, they tend to be better most of the time. But if you simply want a revolver for general purpose shooting, and well, it is an alternative to the stock. It doesn't really do anything amazing, but it doesn't have any big downsides either, so it's interesting. As for the knife, I went with your Eternal Reward. It's a good knife. It does mean that you can't really disguise whenever you want, because you need to stab someone to get the disguise. So you can see the problem there together with the Enforcer. The Enforcer is a weapon that wants you to, if you get caught, you just shoot, especially if you have a disguise, but when you can't get the disguise whenever you want, you can't really take advantage of that bonus damage, so you see the problem there. And the problem here comes also with the watch. I went to Dead Ringer. Once again, it's a really good watch. Many people really use it. Many people really dislike facing spies that use it. And yeah, it's really annoying to face the good, or at least decent Dead Ringer spies. However, together with the Eternal Reward, well, the Eternal Reward means that you want to rely more on your cloak. You can't really cloak whenever you want here, and the decloak sound is actually fairly loud with the Dead Ringer, so that can be a problem. And then you can also be an idiot and run in front of sentries, but that's independent of the loadout. Yeah, you see the problem, and none of these weapons are really bad. The only one you could actually argue is the worst of the lot compared to the other alternatives is the Enforcer, but it's the way they work together which is not that impressive, so yeah. And now for the thing I had planned to do but forgot. Change the Sapper. I was planning to use the red tape recorder. It is occasionally it is going to be more useful than the Stock Sapper, but when it comes to general use, the Stock Sapper is more reliable. But if you're dealing with mini sentries, it's good because, well, the engineers will have to wait longer before they can plot down a new one. And if there's a big massive sentry nest and attentive engineers, so that you can't rely on the Sapper actually finishing the job, the red tape recorder will waste much more time for the engineer than the Stock Sapper would, and much more metal after all. Stock Sapper, yay! It damaged the sentry, they knock it off, and then in 1-2 swings everything is back up at full again. Do the same thing with the red tape recorder. Now their level 3 stuff is down at level 1, so they have to spend 400 metal and lots of swing for their sentry. Same thing for the dispenser. As far as their teleporter goes, it depends on whether it was built together with the Eureka effect or not, but yeah, can waste a lot of time and metal with the red tape recorder, so it depends on the situation. But really, that is, well, that is pretty much all I really have to say about this loadout. Is this the worst spy loadout? Well, you can leave a comment if you want, but yeah, these weapons are not really the best together, although you can certainly get use of them, especially if you know what you're doing. Even I can manage to get some use of them, mostly thanks to enemies who weren't really paying that much attention. And here's a situation where the red tape recorder would probably not have been as useful because it wouldn't damage the center in the same way, so it wouldn't have been destroyed, but it happens. So, anyway, in this series, it's only one class left, and then now I'll have done at least one loadout for each class, and whether there will be anything more after than that, well, we'll see. Maybe text to change things, or I may have new ideas that maybe this one is actually even worse than what I already came up with, so who knows. The only thing that really is planned is to make an episode with the demo man, and well, that one's going to be interesting. Demo man allows some really inventive bad loadouts there, so it's gonna be tough to actually figure out which loadout to use there. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye everyone, and have a pleasant day. Bye bye.